All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMAC getting ready for a little MLB action, covering for one Eric Lindquist, who is out and about. He was very ill yesterday, and then I think he had to travel to a wedding or something. So you guys get to have me, and I'm joined by Matt Bellman. It's like we have a 3-day weekend basically now if we're going to be doing shows all weekend. Matt, how are you doing? What's going on in life?
Nothing, man. Basically the same stuff that was happening a few days ago, the last time I saw you. No news is good news over here, though, as I say. So, yeah, we're just looking forward to the weekend. Long weekend over here. Hopefully the weather cools up. The sun is out, but it is cold here. It's like 50 degrees, which mid-May is not cool. So, hoping the weather, turns up a little bit and we get more heat. But other than that, can't complain. How about yourself?
All right. Well, I finally got off the schneid. I won the afternoon.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Slate,
nice job.
And then last night nothing compared to what you're doing, but it still feels good. And it's like I was trying to put out there in the tweets. That would be worth 2 months of Stokastic Sims because I was repping the Stokastic Avatar. I got first in the $1 max 6,000 prize pool last night on DK, and then I won the afternoon 25-cent one on I guess it was Tuesday or Wednesday on FanDuel. Look at there was like 6,000 people in that contest or whatever. So there you go. There are ways to get in to Stokastic, especially if you're going to be following the Stokastic Hall of Fame promotion. And I'm going to put that in chat and on the screen here, and then we're going to dive into the fun. But let's use this organic moment here to help you guys get more from Stokastic here. So you just got to rep your avatar. Look, you can download half a dozen different styles here. You upload that to your DFS site of choice, and you finish top 3, can't be ties. So like if you chop the showdown today with 25 people for first, in NBA, that doesn't count. So you finish a true first, second, or third, but get a screenshot of that and your win and send that on Twitter to Stokastic HOF, and then we will get you into the Hall of Fame. Laffy will is it induct? Yeah, I was going to say indoctrinate. I'm here to indoctrinate you guys in Stokastic. Laffy will be getting you guys into the Hall of Fame, but look at it. We have multiple prize levels here. For all this, I'd like to get the Ring of Honor, $20,000. Get a little spinny ring. Matt, you should do that. You should rep the Stokastic Avatar for one of your big wins.
I do rep the Stokastic Avatar. I do want one of those rings also, so I should make that happen.
I know. See, you gotta guilt Laffy into it.
I need that for my office.
Exactly. You can have it behind you, just kind of spinning around there. Something Sean Kemp never quite got.
You see, I got some new stuff in my office that Sean Kemp hadn't been there before.
I did. I saw the show when you unveiled that. So,
okay. So yeah, I should have. You know what I mean? I was a little bit taken aback that you didn't say anything, but then I didn't even think that you were watching the show or I said something about it. So kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Yes. Well, I was a big fan of the Rain Man being in the Seattle area in his heyday with him and Gary Payton, aka the Glove. All right. Let's get into the slate. Weather concerns, there's really only one. It's Boston. It's game 2 of the doubleheader. We saw, who was it? Baltimore ran out a third baseman for the final inning. He gave up 8 runs. I believe it ended up being like 19-5. So, boy, it just, when it rains, it pours on the Orioles, literally. Of course, they're not as bad as Colorado. I was reading an article this morning. I hadn't realized they were on pace to absolutely decimate the all-time loss record that was set last year by the Chicago White Sox. It's almost another standard deviation away for Colorado if they keep this up. Not only that, they have double the negative run differential of the next worst team, and they're on pace for something like a minus 500 and something run differential which would be like 100 or 200 more than ever happened in MLB history. So yikes, a lot of craziness there. They should really fire the manager. Oh wait, they already did. It didn't help. So they should but you know how we say build better lineups? I guess you got to put better players on the field. But Matt, we've got some exciting guys up top here. We've got Chris Sale, Zach Wheeler. They are the Bucks deluxe options there. Sliding down a little lower, we've got Pablo Lopez going against Kansas City. Not a ton of strikeouts there in Kansas City, but Pablo can make his own magic. You've got Kikuchi and Sandy Alcantara going against each other in Anaheim. Those are kind of the main guys, but then you can start doing a little dumpster diving there with the likes of Nick Pivetta in a tougher matchup with Ronald Acuna Jr. back today. You've got Tyler Mahle there in Texas, for Texas in Chicago against the White Sox. How are you breaking this down? Because not only do we have a Coors Field slate with the highest implied team total that I've seen outside of Mexico City. At one point, it was 7.9 runs today for the Yankees. It was 7.7 last time I looked. And then it's warm in Tampa Bay. Why does that matter? Well, Tampa's playing outside. They're on this slate as well. So they're playing in George Steinbrenner Field. And then it's warm in West Sacramento. So we've got a Coors Field and both minor league ballparks with elevated weather here. This slate's going to be insane. You're going to be going crazy tonight, Matt. I know this.
I mean, by go crazy, what do you mean exactly?
Well, you're not going to know what to watch.
Yeah, you're right.
Just pinball scoring everywhere is the way this is shaping up. What are we rooting for? What does it all mean, Dazzle?
No, I'm with you. It is going to be an insane night of baseball. I love nights like this. At least I love them as soon as lock hits until my teams are most likely dead. But, such is life in MLB DFS. Really good pitching options, but I do think that the pitching is secondary on this slate just because of the offenses you talked about. Not just the Yankees, but other good offenses in good spots. A bunch of good pitching options, though, not just up top. Mid-tier guys that look good to me. And to be honest, like the guys up top aren't necessarily in the best spots. So I do think it's kind of dealer's choice today as far as pitching goes. And it's like, while I do think that, Sale, Wheeler, and Lopez are the clear, top three guys, salary matters, especially on a slate like this. So playing one of those guys hurts, especially Wheeler. Playing two of them together is not easy if you want to spend up on bats. So I am looking at some mid-tier guys because I think they project close to as well as the guys up top.
All right. So I want to hit on a few specifics here, and then chat. We're gonna kind of freestyle this show just a little bit more like what Greg does, since there are just so many things to talk about today. We would run out of time if we were attempting to go game by game there. So what we have with let's see. So the one knock against Wheeler, if there's a knock against him, he is one of the pitchers in West Sacramento today. So that is at the Sacramento River Cats AAA ballpark there. I believe it's called Sutter Health Park. So it's the same dimensions as a pretty standard MLB ballpark, but the stands aren't there. So it doesn't really protect from the wind and the weather as much because it only seats, and they expanded it. I believe they expanded a little bit if I was understanding what I was reading last week correctly, but it seats about 14,000 people. So what's happening there, and it's this kind of the same thing in Tampa, but Tampa makes more sense because of the humidity is an added factor there. But the stands aren't there to kind of protect things and make wind less of an issue here. So that's what we're seeing in these ballparks, which are kind of regularly sized, but not for major league hitting. So that's something that hasn't really caught up yet within the betting markets completely. Feels like they're a little bit light. And by a little bit light, like half a run, maybe a run. It's something that they're going to start treating these once the weather gets there a little bit more like Coors Field, because it's not like they're not paying attention and they're not thinking about this or reading all the articles about it, but it just people haven't been betting it enough to really push those run totals. So there's still a little bit of value there. So that's the only knock there that we have against Wheeler. Sale, on the other hand, is going against San Diego. They have been limiting strikeouts against lefties, but we're talking about the reigning Cy Young Award winner here in Sale, and Wheeler is top 3 or 4 in the odds, depending on your sportsbook of choice this year. Sale's a little bit further down, but Sale actually has 11.85 strikeouts per inning, which is his highest rate, even higher than last year, his highest rate since 2019. So since before the pandemic, he's at his highest rate right now. So he's kind of interesting. with those top two. But as Matt said, it's really hard to get behind either one because the bats. Now, a couple of the sites screwed up. Yahoo, FanDuel, of course, they didn't price up Coors Field for the Yankees. So it's easier to do things on those sites than it is on DraftKings. But DraftKings has a couple of other ways we can get to the bats. But aside from those, I'm assuming you're doing 3 or 4 lineups tonight?
Yeah, I'm playing 5 lineups tonight.
Okay. How many will have one of these 2 pitchers?
Sale or Wheeler?
Yeah.
That's TBD, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet.
So, but it's not a slam dunk. That's like, I'm going to have at least one of them in all the lineups.
No, definitely not a slam dunk at all.
Right. Okay. I had to get the baseball or the basketball reference in there.
Yeah, I respect it.
7:30 tonight, NBA Live before lock as we get game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals here. All right, let's go down the list here. We'll circle back on Pablo Lopez in a little bit, but going down the list, Tyler Mahle. So he gets to go against the Chicago White Sox. Love the matchup, right? That's something that we always look to see who is playing against the White Sox every day. So in his last 9 starts, so I'm skipping his first one, which wasn't very good, but in his last 9 starts, Mahle has allowed only 8 runs, no more than 2 in any of them. The knock there, only 37 strikeouts in 53 1/3 innings. That makes it a little tougher to get excited about him, even with the great matchup, because he's had a myriad of maladies that have, put the kibosh on his last couple of seasons here. And so he's now in his age 30 season. He was on a great trajectory of becoming a very complete and fantastic pitcher. He's going to be a good pitcher. He's still what I would call, a front of the rotation starter. But without those strikeouts, it's hard to get excited about him for DFS. Is he in your pitcher pool?
He's too expensive at 9,600. I love the spot against the White Sox, but not on this slate. I mean, if you're paying up for pitching tonight, you need upside. So I don't think, he can get it because of the spot, but you're playing him over like Sale, Wheeler, Lopez, Kikuchi, guys I just like more. So I'm not playing Mahle here. If I were playing 150, he'd be in the pool, but that's about the best I can say.
All right. Now, because there are a couple other sites out there, he is 9,100 on FanDuel. But again, they didn't really price up Coors Field. So you can go that path if you'd like, but you can still, for $1,000 more, you could get the Sale or Lopez, etc. The interesting thing is Kikuchi's not quite the savings here. He's only $300 less than Mahle. And if we go to Yahoo, they're also including the 640 games in their main slate. So that puts in Paul Skeens, it puts in Mackenzie Gore, it puts in Hunter Green. But you can see Kikuchi at 37 gets really interesting there. Mahle at 43 is pretty interesting, but Skeens and Wheeler are almost impossible to get if you're going to play people from Coors Field, even with their misprices there. But we wanted to call that side out there for just a second. Okay, back to DraftKings. That takes us down to some of our cheaper plays here. We've got UC Kikuchi in the mix, Matt. So he's 35, fly ball tendencies. We know this well from his time in Toronto, his time in Seattle. Does have strikeout ability, but takes what is given for him, right? So I like to call that creating magic at the plate. Sale, Wheeler, they're going to strike people out, right? Skeens, going to strike people out. Kikuchi, if it's there, he might get it. But that means there's a lack of consistency there. And it makes him very, very tricky to trust. But we need savings. What is the temperature check here for you with Kikuchi?
Yeah, I like Kikuchi here. You couldn't ask to be in a softer spot at home against the Marlins. He's good. He's a good strikeout pitcher. I don't love the ownership. I don't think it's like the best play in the world, but I think it's a good play. At that price on a slate where we like bats, I like him here. Again, I don't think he's a must play by any means. He's got a 4.72 expected ERA, but it's just a good spot at home. And I think he's a good play here. I think that says it about as well as I can say it. He's a good play here.
All right. So here's the interesting part about the Marlins lineup. They have, let's see, 4 players with 18% or lower strikeout rate. 3 of them are just barely into double digits since the start of last year against lefties. That's very, very low. They have 4 other players in the lineup. Jesus Sanchez has a 30% strikeout rate in his last 132 plate appearances against lefties. You've got Derek Hill, 91 plate appearances, 32% strikeout rate. Augustin Ramirez, only 16 strikeouts. He's got a lot of power. Rookie just came up this season, 38% strikeout rate there. There are some holes in his swing. And then we already know Connor Norby is going to be one of those swing from your heels win machine guys. He's got a 35% strikeout rate. That's where I'm saying Kikuchi could take what is available. Those 4 guys alone could get him half a dozen strikeouts. We'll see. Now we're playing with fire because he does, give up power. Where's his ISO? 167 this year. He did an okay job last year. It was more palatable around 150, still above, an average hitter, but not totally detrimental. But he is the king of multi-home run games because he allows his share of fly balls. And that's why he kind of got masked a little bit or a lot of bit in Seattle, to a lesser degree in Toronto. And then when he gets the vaunted marine layer coming in here in Anaheim, that plays to his favor when it's a little bit cooler there. It protects the warning track. It's like another little layer of protection around the warning track there to help him out. Who am I leaving out, Matt? What are the names that are bubbling up as you're furiously looking at different lineup iterations here?
So 2 guys that I think look 2 of like the best pitchers on the slate in my mind. One, a guy that I'm not sure I'll play, but I'm not sure why I wouldn't play him, to be quite honest, and that's Clark Schmidt, 7,200 against Colorado. He's been good. And the only thing going against him here is that it's in Coors, but this Rockies lineup stinks. So Schmidt wildly in play. And the guy that I just can't lay off, Sandy Alcantara, 7,700 in this matchup. I mean, yeah, I like me some Sandy here. This Angels lineup has been good, but that's been on the road mostly. On the road the whole way in against the Dodgers in LA and then against the Athletics in Sacramento. Now coming back home against a guy who, even though he hasn't been good this year, he's still been good against right-handers. He's got the highest strand rate or the lowest strand rate in MLB. Like, that's just not going to continue. It's not a safe free spot, but at 7,700, I'm going to ride with Sandy. He's a pitcher I like a lot. He's done good for me in the past. I still have confidence in him. It's burned me multiple times this season. What's one more?
Yeah, the walks are elevated. Never really had the strikeouts. Even in his Cy Young Award season, T. McBee and I would joke about it. It was kind of like a lifetime achievement award. He just worked the most innings and was just solid every start, as compared to like Sale as last year and some other pitchers that dominate. Tariq Skubal, etc. of recent years. Now, to your point, Anaheim, the lineup has a 27.3% strikeout rate since the start of last year against right-handed pitchers. All but 2 are 25% or higher. That is available strikeouts. Now, this does come with a fair amount of power. To the credit of the Angels, they have a lot of good righty power bats in their lineup. No Mike Trout, obviously. He's just perpetually hurt at this point. But Moncada, switch hitter, so he's good from the left side. But you have Taylor Ward, you have Jorge Soler, and Zach Neto. Those guys could make Alcantara pay, and so we'll have to see what happens. But I think the way the slate is breaking for us, it does have us needing to go to give Sandy some consideration here at 11% on DraftKings. Clark Schmidt, 14%. That's their it's not their ownership. Let's get to the ownership there. That's their likelihood of being the highest top 2 pitcher. So Schmidt is coming in, 3rd most popular pitcher. And again, I'm sharing the top stacks or top pitchers tool here. 16.8, Alcantara at 12%. I don't know why Charlie Morton's there. Oh, because he's $5,000. Would you ever consider Charlie Morton again?
I would. this is the night to consider him. I mean, there's expensive bats all over the slate. He's got strikeout upside. That's about all it is. He's 5K. I mean, it's kind of like Marquez yesterday. Like Marquez was 4,500. Morton is 5K.
Such a great example. That is the perfect example.
It's, you know what I mean? Because once every, I don't know how many starts, these guys are going to be good. And when that happens, they're just so cheap. It unlocks everything. So certainly it's risky, but like 5K, 4,500, it's too cheap for starters that are actual starters that are capable of going deeper into games, because it's just a misprice in those situations. Now, the other side of that is he's unlikely to be good, but I mean, I just said it. There's really expensive bats. This slate is likely to be won with bats. And if you get 12 out of Morton, that could be enough. I mean, there is really good pitching up top, but none of it's in great spots. So you'll probably need a good start, but it's not like crazy to think he gives you a decent start. I don't know. I don't love it, but I get it tonight.
All right. Oh, they said Morton's not starting. Can I hit refresh? Sorry. Maybe I haven't refreshed this in time. Sometimes double headers muck with our things the way, and it's not just us, it's across the board. Baltimore. It is still says Morton. Let me go look and see what I can find there. Sorry about that, guys. In any event, we have so Pablo Lopez, I'm assuming he's just going to kind of get lost in the shuffle for you. Not quite enough strikeouts, too expensive, closer to the Sale, the Wheelers, etc. Is that how things are?
It is. It's unfortunate too, because I like Pablo a lot, but man, it's just so hard to get to him on this particular slate. More expensive than Sale, like it's tough. I like Pablo a lot. I always like playing it, but I'm contrarian ownership. But man, it's just tough to get there today.
All right. Sorry, guys. Everything I'm seeing, and I'm looking at other sites, has Morton. There could be maybe they're putting in an opener for him.
Yeah, I see Rogers, but that could be wrong.
Okay. And with them finishing,
actually, I see no listed. I don't even know.
No listed. Okay. So they went to the utility player in the first game of the doubleheader. They don't have much pitching. It's not going to be a surprisingly good pitcher. This is just purely a price play. So kind of we're just to sort of circle back there and sum up nicely what Matt had said. Well, I was looking all confused there. So Herman Marquez was really cheap yesterday. Tough matchup against Phillies, afternoon game. Weather was a little bit better in Colorado. He had like an 8.8 ERA on the road this season. He's been getting his ass kicked for the last 2 years. So, of course, what I think they ended up scoring, the teams combined for more than one run. But at one point I looked, it was like 1-0 in the sixth inning or whatever. So, to Matt's point, baseball gonna baseball. And you want to ride to the top of the leaderboard. Foolishness like that doesn't feel good could come to fruition, right? We're trying to harness the chaos of baseball's variance, and that's sort of the thesis behind that play. I'm wearing my glasses, so I will say thesis just because. All right, we kind of hit the low ends. I feel like you got one or two more pitchers up your sleeve here, Matt, that we haven't covered.
Not really. I mean, just because I think Sandy is cheap enough. Morton, though, mention him. Sean Burke stinks, but so does Texas. So, 5,500 on a slate with big bats. I don't think the guys priced in the 5K range look that much different than the guys in the 8K range, or a bunch of the guys, not all of them, but a bunch of them. So, yeah, I think there are some spend up options to look at. Doesn't mean that I think any of them or the majority of them are going to work out, but Morton 5K, Burke 5,500. Hancock 5,800 against the all-righty Houston lineup. There are guys down there.
All right. I want to talk about the weather here. I want to see if Mr. Roth put anything up. So he said, this is on Twitter. He is the official DFS weatherman, has been for a decade. Says Boston is locked into a light to moderate rain for the majority of the night. He says it's probably a good sign if we see them warming up. That probably means they will just play through it. If there's a pregame tarp, could mean there's a postponement. So that is his assessment there. And then he says for New York, there's going to be rain in the area for sure. If it comes over the ballpark, it could create a delay. I'm paraphrasing on his behalf. So those are really the only two risky weather spots. I saw someone in the chat. Sorry, I've closed the shout out now accidentally, but they were asking a similar question. What about Giolito? So, Giolito probably about, our same assessment as Morton. We've seen Baltimore struggle all year. The last time he was healthy, he missed all of last year, but the last time he was healthy, he ended up leading the league in home runs. He started out his career as a very high draft pick with the Nationals, was traded over, I'm blanking on who the nickname of the player that they traded for, Mighty Mouse. They traded to the White Sox, and he ended up helping the Nationals win their World Series. Blanking on that name, but point being, Giolito started breaking out. He started working again. I think it was with this high school pitching coach. I can't remember if it was high school or college, and he had that dominant stretch there after being in Chicago for a couple seasons. Injuries caught up to him again, so he may not be that guy again. But same argument that we said in favor of Morton, and the example of Marquez yesterday is definitely viable for Giolito. Terrifying. A normal person wouldn't do it. But do normal people play baseball? DFS baseball? I don't think so, man. I just don't think so. All right. Shall we talk about some of our stacks?
Yeah, we shall.
Well, Coors Field looms large over everything. We've got the Yankees there, which is just nutty to think about this. 7.6 implied run total, 25% chance of being the most the most high scoring stack today. They're going against Tanner Gordon. Gordon, if I remember correctly, he's being called up from the minors for this game. Hasn't done a whole lot while in the minors. Are you going for the gusto here? Are you going for the Yankees bats?
I mean, they look like the best stack on the slate, so I'd like to. They're owned, so you got to fight through that ownership. They look like the best stack on the board. They're in cores. I think they get inflated ownership just because this is the only time they'll be in cores. The first time they've been in cores since Judge has been there, so. I'm more apt to not play teams like this on big slates, but this is one where I really wouldn't fault anyone for just going all in on the Yankees. They're in the best spot by far. There are just other really good spots, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, 80 degrees or around 80 degrees at first pitch. It'll be by the end of the game, it'll be in the low 70s. But all signs point to Coors Field today for offense. The key guys you're going to want to look to, all of them, but more realistically, I would say Judge, Grisham, Rice, Austin Wells. The tools like Paul Goldschmidt, I'm not as big of a fan, but to Matt's point, perfect spot for him here. DJ LeMahieu, kind of getting old. Goldschmidt's old, but everybody. I mean, we don't see situations like this very often. Would you take any of the Rockies?
I would. I kind of like the Rocky stack. They're definitely on my short list here. I like the Rockies. They don't look that much different than some other teams on this list, and they're pricey is the problem. They are expensive, but I think Clark Schmidt is going to get ownership, even more than we're projecting. He's so cheap. I think the bats that we're projecting to be the Yankees will be even higher, and you're just going to need a cheaper pitching, and Schmidt fits that. So I am interested in going with some Rockies against him. Not my favorite stack on the board, but in play for me for sure.
Yeah, Ryan McMahon, 3,800 on DK, switch hitter, or probably a shortstop. Ezekiel Tovar batting second. He's 41. You've got Moniak there, 3,500. He has the platoon advantage, also a pinch hit risk, but it does have the platoon advantage. Nick Martini, $3,000, a $3,000 player in Coors Field. Well, it's because he's not good, and he also is a pinch hit risk there. What do you think of Jason Dominguez?
I like him. I mean, I don't think he looks there's nothing about him that's he's the guy I need in the stack. But if I'm stacking the Yankees, I want him.
What's your overall take on him as a budding?
I think that they're the best stack on the board by far. We're projecting them to be the top stack 25% of the time.
Oh, sorry, no. What is your like season long profile take? For Dominguez? And we're talking to a guy who just traded away Bobby Witt in the season long. Like, I went back and looked at that, Mac. I like that deal even more for you.
Yeah, I was freaking when Julio got scratched yesterday, but he's back.
Yeah, I don't know who you had to cut for that, but because
the rosters are so deep. It's a 16-team league. Like the rosters.
Then I really like that, and it was a fair trade for the other guy. Matt did like what was it, like a 6 for 4 or something like that. But it was a good consolidation trade for the guy who is getting Bobby Witt. But Matt got 3 definite. If it's a 16-team league, 3 really good players to replace him. So.
And at the end of the day, get freaking Luis Robert off my damn team. Like, get him off. I need no more of his juju. Just bringing my team down.
The stank.
He is so bad. He's so bad. I know he's going to go yard tonight and whatever, turn it around after I trade. He is awful.
Humboldt says Adley Rutschman is probably pitching for the O's. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Ken Ratty, good reminder. DJ LeMahieu at one point was a Colorado Rocky. Does that do anything for us? Not really. He was also a multi-time batting champion as well. DK, you can't play Rice and Goldie. I know, that's why I've been enjoying FanDuel. Maybe I'm going to show you guys the single lineup simulator here in a bit as I build out some of my FanDuel lineups. But back to the stacks here. We have create a player, Jacob Lopez. I don't even know who that is. Going for the Athletics tonight. Philly just looks phenomenal. They are coming off a Coors Field series here. Who else do we like? The Dodgers and Griffin Canning. I don't have a good read on Griffin Canning. I like to call him Griffin Tomato Canning, and he has been actually decent and not quite the potential implosion guy that we have seen in previous years. But he's going against the Dodgers. What do you like of our next wave of stacks?
So there's a bunch of good stacks on this slate. I mean, if the Yankees weren't on this slate, the Phillies look amazing here. Phillies have by far the best odds to be the second best stack on the board. And they're like not one of the lowest, but they're like 5th or 6th highest in ownership. I love that combination. So Philly, I think, looks next best. Still really good hitting conditions for them there, even coming out of Coors. We've seen this ballpark in Sacramento. So like Philly quite a bit. Texas looks good. I like Texas a lot. Sean Burke, if you remember the start of this run, was when me and you were doing that show on Tuesday night. Tyler Mahle and the A's against Sean Burke. Coincidentally, they're both on this slate tonight. The A's, Sean Burke, and Tyler Mahle. So comes full circle, maybe. I don't really know where I was going with that, but just fun to point out.
All right. Malakar bringing the heat here. He says he took first in a couple different contests earlier. Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to share one more thing here with you guys on the screen. This is this link join. And I dropped it into chat, and Nightbot's been putting it in chat. It's also available in the YouTube description here below us. But if you sign up for any of these operators that you have not signed up yet for, so we got some DFS sites, we got some pick'em sites, we got some sports books. If you come in through our link, and that's the point, you have to come in on our link here that's on this page. You get whatever they're offering is their first deposit or first joining enticement. You get that. Then you're also going to get 30 days of any sport sims from us. So all you got to do is use the link below, right? So look, it's even in italicized here. You got to use the link below, sign up, make your first wager. Once that settles, take a screenshot of that. Send that in an email to support@stokastic.com with the screenshot and the welcome email. Tell us what you want to have for these sims, because that is an easy way to get in. Remember, if you are then following that up with the Stokastic Hall of Fame, you can add to that. Look, I would have qualified twice for the Stokastic Hall of Fame promotion in the last 72 hours. So easy, even I can do it here. That's the Stokastic tips. Matt, you better not be nodding your head there. So easy. All right. Grudge match time. Grudge match. What else do you have for us for the stacks here?
So, man, again, a lot of good stacks tonight. The Dodgers look good against Griffin Candy. They're expensive, but they're like the ultimate contrarian off of the Yankees. Otani sitting there at 500 less than Judge. I like them a lot. If you can get that, or if you want to get them over the Yankees. I like the Diamondbacks against Mikolas. I mean, what's not to like about them? They've been amazing against right-handed pitching this year. It's Miles Mikolas. They're not getting any ownership. So I like some D-backs here. I like some Guardians against Jackson Jobe. Again, I think that it's kind of, there's a plethora of options, if you will, as far as offenses go. It's all about making it work. Like the Twins don't look amazing, but they're so cheap that they look good. Same with Houston. Like I don't love those teams here, but I like them enough where pairing them with like the expensive good offenses makes sense. So there's a ton of different ways to go on this slate. Only a couple teams that I just have absolutely no interest in tonight.
All right. We are down to just needing two more lineups. We don't have the Phillies lineup yet, and we do not have Baltimore's lineup. They're futzing around after their doubleheader. Boston just sent theirs in. You're getting Duran, Devers, Ref Snyder, Story, Sogard, Abraham Toro, Kristen Campbell, Connor Wong, and Rafaela there. So more or less, Sogard's a little surprising there. More or less kind of the lineup we see a lot from them. Ref Snyder promoted a little bit, but it is what it is. We'll have to see. I think Baltimore's deciding who's going to be that opener potentially is why we don't have that lineup. All right. So what I'm going to do here, chat, I'm going to have one window up here where I'm going to ask some questions. So I can see if you guys have questions. I want to show you guys the single lineup sim because this is what I've been having a lot of fun with. So this is available for all the sports, and it is particularly fun for baseball. So one of the things that in doing lineups and stuff, when you use the sims, you have to kind of filter things, and it's giving you good lineups, but it may not be the combination that you want. And especially when you break down these slates and you just want to say, hey, I want to see where my thoughts are taking me, or is this a correct scenario here? So I like to hand build about 7 lineups of my 150 on FanDuel. So I set it for a smaller contest size because I like to put these in the 10-mans and the 20-mans. They don't fill up very fast on FanDuel, but if you can get in there early in the morning, you usually can get in enough to have each of your 7 lineups in a couple different smaller contests. And those have less rake, and they also have better payout structures than the gigantic top-heavy ones. So I like to make sure I get what I want in these particular ones. But so let's just say, all right, well, we like the I was going to say the 49ers. Good God. We like the Yankees. I've been listening to Best Ball podcasts. Tune in on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 o'clock, and you can see Chris Spags on this very channel breaking down DraftKings Best Ball. But we said, hey, EMAC, we can't play Ben Rice and Austin Wells together. We can't on DK, but we can play them both together here on FanDuel. So I'm going to put both those guys in the lineup. And then I said that we liked Judge and we like Grisham. So you can just put those guys in. Let's get Tanner Gordon out of there. I was a misclick there. We can put the guys in here and then ask this to complete the lineup for us. So it's going to come in. It's going to say, all right, well, with what we have left, it's quickly going to do a rudimentary optimizer. There's Sandy Alcantara. Look at that. We run the simulation here. And then this is going to tell you what kind of a lineup that you have. Now, again, when lineups are being simulated and evaluated off of a site's projections, it's going to be happy with what you're doing because you're using the projections it likes. But this is a good, if you get bad lineups, like negative lineups, then you know to get out of it, right? So this isn't exactly what I wanted, but I'll keep it. I'm going to build another one like this, but I'm going to influence it more. So I like those Yankees. So I'm just going to hit copy there. I don't want Sandy. I don't really want Haggerty, Lewis, Turner. Oh, well, guess what? I'm going to come in with the same guys I had before. I like Jose Caballero because he's in that Tampa game. but I'm going to bounce him as well. This time I'm going to put in, let's have some fun here. Let's put in Clark Schmidt, let the lineup build around it. Now, the one thing that this will keep doing is it doesn't have a randomizer on it. So if you're not locking in different positions or changing stuff up with the salary cap, it's going to start putting in the same players. That's the one thing that you may want to, when you have time, just adjust accordingly. But let's look at what this one is, because we could see Caballero's in there again, Royce Lewis is in there again, Haggerty's in there again. So those three guys were on the other lineup too. But we changed the pitcher. Let's see what happens. So look at that. We dropped in our sim ROI down to just neutral. So neutral is not a bad way to go. I don't mind that in the smaller leagues. I will accept that. But it's interesting to see that just by changing from Clark to Alcantara and vice versa, you knock 20% off your ROI. And that takes into account how these guys are going to do, their differences in salary, what the rest of the field's doing, etc. That's what the ROI is calculating. Now, that ROI doesn't mean I'm going to win, or I'm going to get 20% of my money back every time this lineup plays. It means on a long-term time horizon, it does this. So what other games do we like, Matt? Philly was one. We don't have the Philly lineup, but let's go with their usuals, right? Let's put Harper in there. Let's put Schwarbs and why not Castellano? And then here we want to pick an expensive pitcher. Let's pick Wheeler and see what happens. And so we got that clicking in. Look, there's Haggerty, there's Lewis, right? So you can see the same names over and over. So that's the one thing where if you don't want a ton of overlap, you need to tweak that a little bit. And you can easily add these guys in and out. So yeah, 13%. Okay, I'll take that. Totally fine with it. But that's the single lineup. So I saw somebody was asking if I can do that for DraftKings. Oh, the lineup is out. Well, it's out, but I haven't refreshed the tools, and I don't want to lose these lineups because I'm going to play them. I'm going to export these just so I have them. Now, when you bounce back and forth between sites, you want to. I like opening a new browser. So give me 1 second here to open a new browser, because sometimes it displays the right thing, but then it gets a little bit confused. So if you're changing between sports and sites, you want to open a new browser window. Let me come back here and share this. Assume it's that one. All right, so let's do this for DraftKings as well. So DraftKings, I also like doing this here. I've only been doing it for a few days. I've been doing this for the better part of a month on FanDuel. But DraftKings, I found that I'm not getting the combinations of the pitchers I want without doing filters and finding them. So that makes things more fun here when I can look at different stuff. So here I'm going to say I want Wheeler, and who is our other expensive guy? Sale. Now, if you want, you can ask it to complete the whole lineup. It's just going to give you individual players. It's not going to build stacks for you. But the concept of what kind of an ROI could I get if I'm playing the top pitchers is key. Now, if it's heavy in the red, then we may not want to go that route. Okay, it says great lineup. I'm a little skeptical of that. But this is probably your cash game lineup, because when we look at it, Connor Wong, okay, good matchup. Jock Peterson, okay, good matchup. But these guys aren't great hitters. 6-hitter, 8-hitter. Angel Martinez, yeah. Royce Lewis, again, the Sims love Royce Lewis today because he's batting second. But you can see, oh, look, here, Judge and Grisham. We already know they're two of the best bats on today's slate, so it's going to grab those. But it's just interesting to see what these different lineups are doing. But I think you guys are getting the picture there. But let's look at two cheaper ones. Let's look at Male, and then we said Kikuchi was another guy who was cheap. So I've been expecting more Phillies and more Yankees. Let's see what we get in this one. Okay, Gunnar Henderson, all-star. Judge, all-star. Jaron Duran, okay, nice one there. Jason Dominguez, all right, there we go. So you can see what it's done is it's reallocated stuff. Again, it's not going to stack these because it wants you to more or less build it by hand. But look, here's another great lineup. So two vastly different lineups that we have coming in with good ROIs. Oh, you guys can't see my screen. Sun de la Beach. Let's do that again. All right. Here was the Sale and Wheeler lineup. My apologies, but good thing I was saying the names and talking through it. It wasn't a complete loss. Here is the Kikuchi and Molly. So Matt, I'm sure, likes to do this when he's crafting out his high dollar lineups. Let's do one more here, and then we'll run some regular sims.
You know, another stack I want to call out. Just I'm flipping the script from how I felt earlier in the show. Miami, I think they got some pieces that are in play. Kikuchi getting ownership, and I get it because this matchup's really good, but Miami does get a nice ballpark upgrade here going out of Miami into LA. Ramirez leading off at 3,900 at catcher. He looks good here. Kikuchi getting ownership, the most overowned pitcher on the slate. Yeah.
So I've got Ramirez, Wagamon, and Norby. Do you have any others you'd throw in there? Would you put in Stowers probably?
I'd throw in some Otto Lopez and Stowers, Lopez hitting third. All
right, let's put Lopez in there and let's see what happens. So this is kind of the reverse, right? And this is usually how I build these lineups, guys. Is I put in the stack I want, see what pitchers it gives me. Ooh, there's Charlie Morton with Chris Sale. We got some one-offs there, two-man from the Yankees. So let's see what that simulates out as. And you can build some lineups that you think are good and you really want them. This is another great lineup. Look at that. Well, Matt, I'm going to have to play that one too. So anyway, that is the single lineup sim. So let me, where is the export button? Other things. You can name these, right? Because if you're just kicking around for the afternoon, so we can call this one Miami, and then we can just say Morton and Sale. And then you know which lineup it is. So if you're just looking at them, now that name doesn't come out when you filter or when you export it, but it helps you understand here. And you can just quickly click on these, but sometimes it's easier if you want to build something or copy it from somewhere. All right, let's see. Phillies lineup is out. Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Real Muto, Alec Bohm, Edmundo Sosa. Oh, that's why. It was supposed to be Springs today, the other lefty pitcher. So Lopez doesn't change the assessment. Weston Wilson and Johan Rojas. The only players, and I know because I wrote these guys up in the Free Spotlight Pitchers Top Stacks article, the only players that really have any red that is not bright green on the dashboards, it's actually red. It was Real Muto. Surprisingly, he's not very good against lefties, even though he has the platoon advantage. And then Rojas. Well, Rojas is in there because he's playing center field today, probably. So he's in there for his glove. All right, let's build out some DK lineups. So I'm going to just hit refresh here because I want to see if it brings in the new lineup. There, no, we still don't have Philly. It hasn't fallen or hasn't flowed through here, but that's okay for my purposes. So let me put the contest generator up here. So when we're doing the sims here, and we have tons of shows where we do this, guys, and talk through it. Laffy talks about these on the strategy show, weekday mornings, going over this. But we get the number one questions I get in Slack: how do I use the sims? How do I do this? Tell me. And it's like, all right, well, we have all these great tools, but I want to know what you do, EMAC. Well, here's what I do. So what this is doing is this builds out the pool. So I'm taking what was our defaults and I'm tweaking this a little bit. This is trying to be a representative sample of what is going to be in the tournament. Now I'm changing this because where we have it as our default is usually pretty accurate and consistent with what we're seeing these days. I'm changing it, and I know I'm not creating a pool that is going to be exactly like the tournament I'm trying to get into, but it's going to create lineups that I want to look at. Now I don't change it much beyond just adding more stacks and redistributing the stacks a little bit, going away from 5-3 and 5-2 because I'd rather have 4-0 or 3-3 because I want some good one-offs. And that's one of the things we've learned now with the sims is that the one-offs are kind of key, and you want to be playing to Aaron. It's duh, it makes sense, right? You want to be playing Judge. You want to be playing Ohtani. Well, previously we had very rudimentary rules, 5-man stacks, 4 floors, 5 threes. I'm only going to do this. No more than 20% of any hitter, no more than 30% of every pitcher, et cetera, et cetera. And then randomness and variance and uniques and all of that would be creating what we thought were good lineups. Well, now that we have enough sims and we can see all this different stuff, and this isn't just ours telling us, this is all the sims, we can see that the really good plays, you want to have more of them, just how it works. So let's simulate the lineups here. So this is now, it's built out the pool of lineups, and now they're playing the games on play-by-play data, 10,000 or 20,000 times, whatever the number is, I can't remember off the top of my head. But what this is doing is it's ranking all of the lineups against each other and it'll show us where they stand. And I think this is a good way to look at things. And then we'll let Matt give some final thoughts here, since I've been doing the running diatribe here. But Matt's going to win a big one tonight, so I want to make sure I'm like the Mickey, and he's Rocky, and I'm massaging his shoulder. I'm like, all right, Rock, what are we going to do? This is what you got to look for, buddy. So I'm giving him his minutes here to get ready to go take on Ivan Drago or Clubber Lang or someone.
Yeah, I mean, I think the theme of this slate is, if there are a lot of teams on this slate that would be getting a lot of love on a normal slate, but this is not a normal slate because the Yankees aren't cores against a scrub. The Rockies only have scrubs, so we're going to see this all weekend. They probably won't be on the slate Sunday, thank God, but today and tomorrow, it's going to be all about the Yankees in Colorado, and it's really hard to get away from, but what that does is it opens up the field. Like, no other team is going to be popular at all. So there's still a 75% chance the Yankees aren't the top stack on the board. Tons of ways to look at it. A ton of ways to skin the cat, as always. Fading the Yankees is scary, but I think their ownership is going to be really, really high in small field stuff. So we'll see.
All right, so I'm just putting my pitcher caps here. Ooh, see, look, I like Tyler Mahle, but that price is telling us he's not the best allocation of our resources today. So most of these guys shouldn't be coming up, but because I've capped the top guys so much, oh, look at that, doesn't give me any Wheeler at all. That's kind of interesting. So I'm building out 50 lineups here because that's what I like to do. Setting the exposures. Once I've set them, you got to unfavorite, come back in, refavorite here. Click on exposure cap so I can see what's going on. So I capped Sale at 40, got 40. Capped Clark at 30, got 30. Capped Kikuchi, yada, yada, yada. So running down my lineups here, you can see this is the spread I want. Now, I'm terrified to click on a Morton, Sandy Alcantara, etc. But I want them, right? We need them today because of the way the salary works. So I'm looking here and I'm saying, I'd like a little bit more than 6% of Mahle. I'd like some Zach Wheeler. I only have 4%. That's not very much. But he's got, the tougher matchup there in Oakland against, in West Sacramento against the Athletics. But he is a Cy Young front runner. So if I want to boost these guys, when we say ROI boost, you don't have to hit this too many times. Just give a little love there. So because Wheeler's not popping up now, all this is doing, this isn't creating new lineups. It's just giving whatever lineup has Wheeler, it's adding 5% ROI to that lineup. So it's going to change the sort order. So we're going to give that a little double tap and just see what happens here if we get any more Wheeler. And we can go back in here and you can just search their name. You can see that by hitting it twice, I went from 4% to 10%. Okay. Do I want a little more than that? No, I think I'm okay with that. Mahle was the other guy to get much of. Let's give him one click. I'll play him more on FanDuel. But this is how that works. And then the other thing we can do, and again, I'm only building out 50 because that's, well, I got my other 3 or 4 lineups I'll put it to. But you can look at stacks here. So Boston, holy cow, 30% Boston. New York is number 3. Well, oh my gosh, we're 4th. Why is that happening? But New York looks so good in the tools. More people are going to be on them. What happens if Boston crushes today like they did in the first game? Do they have any runs left? I don't know. Maybe they used all 19 of them up in that first game. But this, you can see, is a pretty even spread on the large slate. But It's kind of fun to see that. But no Dodgers, no Tampa Bay. I want to get a little Tampa Bay. Come on, the weather is very nice here. Why am I blanking on here? Tampa's playing. Oh, Eric Lauer. So that means Toronto. Did we get any Toronto love here? No Toronto, so we'll give them a couple clicks. Now, what that's doing is taking the stacked lineups and increasing it. You can increase it by the individual players, but then you're like adding 5% for each player, and that really pushes them up to the top. But here we can see Boston went down a tiny bit. Did we end up? Okay, now we got 10% Tampa, 6% Toronto. I can live with those. So there we are. So what I was saying that the part that I don't like as much is like, well, I don't really want Chris Sale and Sean Burke together. What if I wanted Chris Sale and fill in the blank for somebody else? You can do that. It just takes a little more time because now you come in here, go to lineups, and you say, okay, well, let's filter by Sale. Let's come in, hit the and. That's how we use our operations here. Contains who's the other guy? Wheeler. And it may not give me that many lineups. Oh, okay, look, it does have some. It does have some that are positive ROI, but it's not giving me those lineups. So maybe I say, okay, well, I'm going to click these because I want these here and I want that one because it's got the Tampa guys in it. This one has Boston. We like Boston. This one has Philly. Okay, great. Backing up the pitcher, I can live with that. And then that one's got a couple, I guess just one Yankee and Dominguez. What else do we like here? So that would be the way to do that. Pretty cool. I'm gonna quickly get my lineups in because I did that. So as you've built out your lineups here, we have 8 minutes. What are your final thoughts for everybody who's been watching here?
Yeah. So again, I mean, loaded slate, full Friday night slate, only one spot with weather concerns, a good mix of elite pitching or very good pitching, and then trash cans on the hill. And a lot of like the bad pitching spots are in like good weather hitting spots. So there's a bunch of good offenses today. As I mentioned before, if it weren't for the Yankees, a lot of these other teams would stand out as really good stacks, but we have the Yankees on this slate. So very hard to get away from them. And if you're doing so, fade at your own peril because they're definitely the top stack on the board.
All right. So you know what I just realized? And I've joined that couch cushion contest on FanDuel, the Pocket Cup. So I need to select 150 lineups to get into that one. So let's add 150. Oh, it's only letting me get because I've got the filters on. Duh. Let's take those filters off. Quick favorite, unfavorite, quick favorite, refavorite. We'll send those out. All righty. Well, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. We've got shows all weekend for baseball. We, of course, have NBA Live Before Lock coming up here in 30 minutes because at 8 o'clock we have game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals here. Let's see if the Knicks can get some retribution against the evil that is Indianapolis. Let's do our home run calls, Matt, and we will sign off for the day.
I'm going to go with Corbin Carroll leading off for the D-backs hitting a bomb.
All right. You know who's going to get a Remember Me home run? Ronald Acuna leading off for Atlanta, finally back in action. With that, gamers, good luck.